Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're on a roll. This is Contact Report 26. It was on Wednesday, the 18th June, 1975, at 0411 hours. Translator was Deep L. Corrections and improvements made by Joseph Darmanin and Catherine Mossman, and of course, we're talking to Semyazi. Okay, here we go. Semyazi. Unfortunately, I cannot have a longer conversation today because I was assigned a special task. So it will not be possible for me to contact you very often in the near future. Therefore, please understand that we have to put in longer periods of time between our contacts. Billy, do you want to leave? Semyazi, that was imposed on me, but I am not leaving the Sol system. Billy, what is the status of the demonstration right now? Semyazi, this is not my long walk away before which I want to hold the demonstration. This is not my long walk away before I want to hold the demonstration. Billy, oh, I see. I was beginning to think it was finally time. Semyazi, the time is not pressing because I still have a lot to do before. My new mission only leads me to some worlds of your system and to your satellite, the moon. This is in connection with some recent events. Various exploration and research ventures have been launched by the earthly scientists to explore space and some worlds that require our attention. There are also some new aspects of certain things that two of your great powers want to do from around mid-July. These are the States of America and Russian, which want to clarify various important factors in cooperation, which is why they want to work together in a space station. This requires our utmost attention and various monitoring because the participants must not gain more knowledge than the earthly scientists and power leaders are able to cope with. The danger of gaining too much knowledge is unfortunately within our grasp with this venture, as we have to check and monitor everything. For if too much new knowledge were acquired, then this could have very serious consequences for humanity on the earth, especially because humankind on the earth is not yet mature enough for certain things and would evaluate corresponding new knowledge to strengthen the power of certain states. The greatest danger, however, lies in the fact that the new knowledge can lead to the complete destruction of terrestrial humankind and its world if it is applied according to certain guidelines. This would result in a nasty, large-scale malfunction in the Sol system, affecting the entire Sol system harmony. Other planetary systems adjacent to Earth would therefore also be affected and, depending on the case, might cause a smaller or larger system catastrophe. She don't want us doing like they did on Milana. They blew the planet up. Now it's the asteroid belt, and they wiped out Mars in the process. Therefore, we must try to prevent certain findings, etc. It's like taking a pistol away from a kid. We got some growing up to do. Billy, that is interesting, Semyazi, but I thought that this undertaking was not supposed to start until the early 1980s. Semyazi, it is already time. Billy, I am surprised, however, that you speak so openly about these things, which is otherwise not exactly your manner, because so far you have only ever brought such things to me under the seal of secrecy. Semyazi, sure, but the things I have mentioned here have very specific consequences. The Earth human must not be informed that not all power lies with his scientists and politicians, and that other Western forms exist that are concerned for a certain order, so that the human being does not have to live with too great worries and fears. On the other hand, however, this should also make it clear to the powerful of your world and to the scientists that they cannot simply freely release the reins to the madness of annihilation at their discretion. Billy, I have to say that I think this is quite all right because many of these gentlemen only too easily fall into megalomania and madness. But have you ever done such things before? Semyasi, sure, but not just us. We have followed the entire development and influenced it in certain forms. On the other hand, however, we also had to make efforts at elimination in various cases, or at least condemn certain undertakings to failure. They only let us progress as far as they think we're mature enough to handle. 13,000 years they've been watching over us. Yeah, they've basically formed our society. Billy, that sounds just as if you always had something in between with all things, so to speak. Semyazi, sure, if you want to put it that way, at least for important things of great danger, but always only within the bounds of what is permitted according to our directives, which are very strict. They have a prime directive, maybe? Billy, I will say it like this. Something is not quite clear to me because you have just made a somewhat strange remark, namely that you only have had your eyes open on many things and intervened in them. You are hiding something from me, and not just now. For a long time, I have noticed that you have a secret in front of me whereby it always seemed to me as if you were just eagerly waiting for my question. Semyasi, can you not imagine? Billy, I have my guesses. Semyasi, then call them by their names. Billy, I am not stupid because later it is said from the other perspective that everything is just my imagination. Semyasi, it is completely new to me for you to suddenly find fear. That alienates me. Billy, it is all right. You caught me. You know very well that every fear is foreign to me and that you can break through my reserve with this unfair remark. Semyazi, certainly. I had to be unfair. Billy, well, the point is this. For a long time, I have suspected that there are other extraterrestrials in your world besides you, but with very different desires and hopes. These, Wesson, may be wholly foreign to your race, at least some of them, but others must be of your own race. Semyasi, sure, but just keep talking. Billy, yes, I could imagine that not all extraterrestrials who are mischievous in our affairs have the finest intentions and cultivate them. But I do not know why you let them. But it might be so ... Semyazi, because every form of life is justified in its existence and can think and act according to its own forms at its own discretion. We must not exert violent influences if this is not vital, so we can only act on the path of instruction and emergency attacks as determined by the directives. But go on now. Billy, well, that explains your behavior, and I think it is logical. So I start from the assumption that certain forms of life which are strange to you are trying to wander around from the vastness of the universe on our earth and in the space of the world and to influence other forms of life in various forms. On the other hand, I also suspect that one or more groups of descendants of your old race have not yet returned to you and that they are still living according to the forms of a deity, since they still have to live according to the old forms. It can practically only be that they influence many life forms and also the earth humans according to this and appear as emissaries of a god. It is just not clear to me that you did not tell me the truth about this because we have talked about these things several times. Semyazi, I have never told you anything but the truth. Billy, then I will explain it differently to you. You told me only half the truth about all those things. This means that you probably told me the truth in all things, but only told and explained half of it. Semyazi, sure, your explanation is about right. Billy, that is very thoughtful of you. Well, why did you not tell me everything? Semyazi, the time was not yet ripe, not for you, but for the others because their knowledge was still insufficient. But through all our contact reports, they have now been prepared enough to know these things well. With your speculations, you are very right because there are other forms of life in the earthly space than just ours. There are also still some splinter groups of our own former races here, but also on other worlds where they still live according to their old forms. They constantly try to influence the life forms, especially the Earth humans, according to their forms. Already the ancestors had appeared as gods, and they still do. They are anxious not to release the Earth humans in particular from this form and to continue to make them dependent on themselves through Stoic references to religious heresies, etc., and to cast them under their spell. For a long time, they have been trying again to break into your world in order to subdue the humanity on the earth. Bad E.T.s. Okay, the more religious the human being on the earth is or becomes, the more this madness is given the opportunity of fulfillment. This would mean that humanity on the earth could once again fall into evil religious confusion and that bloody religious madness such as the Inquisition would once again rule your world. That is why they try to suppress the truth by religious delusion. Billy, your explanation sounds logical to me, but for me it gives rise to a new aspect, namely, how is it with your statements that terrestrial humans would not come into contact with these life forms? Semyazi, I have only partially explained that to you. I was talking about certain charlatans and swindlers, etc., to which nothing can be added because this information is complete. But further, it is added that that said forms of life here and there, however rarely, actually make contact with terrestrial humans and deceive them by their religious influences. On the other hand, many Earth humans are subject to deceptions caused by hallucinations or by certain unconscious workings and intended illusory projections of the extraterrestrial life forms for the purpose of underpinning their heresies. Great suggestive influences for deceptive purposes also belong to it, as do appearances of many other forms. Billy, that explains a lot to me. Semyazi, we will have to discuss this again at length. I cannot do that now because time is of the essence and I have to say goodbye. But still, I would like to draw your attention to something. In a short time, you will be faced with a difficult task that has been prepared in the last days. It is about you quietly instruct a group of human beings in the truth, clarify things to them. The contact with Germany is now finally coming to fruition, and within the next few days you will receive a corresponding message. Unfortunately, we had to prevent the first possibility of this connection because the time provided from the other side would have been insufficient for our cause. This time, however, the necessary time has been created so that everything can proceed in accordance with the directives provided for. Only unforeseen things and occurrences could change the plans, but we will try to succeed. Billy, you mean the people from Wiesbaden with your speech? Semyazi, certainly. Billy, then was the engine failure at the end of last month, ... Semyazi, sure, even if the facts of the case were a little different than you think from a meager message about it. Billy, man, oh gosh, I really should have known that. Semyazi, you guessed it, and you found the truth. In any case, be aware that you will not have an easy life, because although the persons who will come to you are very tolerant and open-minded, they are trapped in certain things, namely in back-connecting forms, so therefore sectarian religious. Billy, I know, but in the end, you can talk to human beings, even sectarians. Semyazi, sure, but in this case, it will take more effort for you than usual, because these persons are not only sectarians, but are also caught in their thinking by the very worst charlatans and deceivers in matters of contacts with extraterrestrials. You will have to use your best efforts because these persons are very important for the spreading of the real truth. Whether they will put the truth above their sectarianism, however, that remains to be seen. Recently, I dare to doubt that, as in reference to Hans Jacob, who is also connected with the saints, but which, so far, he has hidden from you. Billy, you want to give me hell? Semyasi, no, but you will realize the correctness of my words soon enough. But now it is really time for me. She's got a book. And that is the end of Contact Report 26. Well, kind of a quickie. And we'll see you on Contact Report 27. Have a nice day.